Chapter 59, Portal Colors. Before Del was to inform the students about the portal training they would be participating in, he needed to explain to the students how the portals worked. After all, it would be a first for nearly every student there apart from a few of them. Portals allowed humans to travel to and back from locations that they had been to before. They were often used to travel to other planets. The technology was obtained when humanity managed to take down their first Daki ship and discovered a portal inside. Usually, when such advanced technology was discovered, people wouldn't be able to dissect and replicate it so easily. Just because you had the technology didn't mean you understood how it worked. But thanks to a legendary scientist named Richard Eno, he had easily been able to dissect all of the equipment found on board of the ship. Another great contributor to the war against the Daki. Some people assumed that he had an ability of some sort that helped him along the way, but these were just rumors and no one knew for sure. However, one thing for certain was he was a great man. Once he had found this technology, he distributed it not only to the military but also to private companies as well. He made sure that such power wouldn't just end up in one group's hands. Back then the world and humans were fighting together, but who knew what would happen once the war had ended? In today's world, there were generally three different groups of people who had and owned portals. The military was the first group. Next were private corporations. They usually had powerful originals backing them. Many of these companies would also form a faction, a group of powerful travelers just for exploring other planets. And lastly was the group known as Pure, a group that didn't believe in the use of abilities. There were three types of portals, each different in color. There was green, orange and red. Each of these portals meant a different thing. Green meant that the planet it led to had already been explored and there were human shelters that had been built. These allowed people to live there if they wished or just stay there temporarily. The next was orange. This meant that the planet hadn't been fully explored yet. There were some shelters in place, but the level of the beast could be too high in certain areas or they just hadn't explored everywhere yet. And finally, the red portals. These were unexplored planets. There were no shelters for regular humans to live in. Only travelers or military personnel would usually go into these portals for exploration, and the worst thing about them was they didn't know if the Daki were on the planet as well. After all, the Daki had the same technology, so it wouldn't be too strange to run into them, and although under a treaty, if a few people were to go missing on an unknown planet, it was hard to prove something had happened and the humans weren't ready for another war just yet. And that is all the information you need to know about portals, Del said. A student then raised his hand who seated in the center of the class. Yes, Del said. What about the beasts that were discovered on those planets? Will we learn about them? The student asked. For now, that's all you need to know about the portals. Yes, this also led us to discover beasts on these planets, and they are what we use to create our beast weapons, but you will be told more detail about that when you arrive. Del explained, although I will tell you now that you can also thank Richard Eno for that discovery as well. Del then closed the presentation that was playing behind him. Now for the important part. The portal expedition will take place next week, but before even that, you will be required to form your own team of 5. Although on this trip you will travel as a class, you must have a squad and stick together. Even the green portals are a dangerous place filled with beasts, and the trackers on your watch will not work outside the academy. We will have no way to come and save you. The same student once again raised his hand, and Del had a look on his face like it was starting to get annoying. Yes. Do you know where we will be going? That information will be revealed to you on the day. Many of you here have family members who, if they knew where you were, would send guards out to protect you on these planets, but that wouldn't be fair, especially since we will also be assessing you on this. The student once again raised his hand, but Del this time stared at him back, forcing him to slowly put his hand down again. Now if there aren't any more questions, your combat classes for today are cancelled. Today you are to form a team of 5 and report back to us by the end of the day. Dell then left the room to attend to other business while allowing the students to form their own group of fives. Vorden then turned his head immediately. "Hey Quinn, you want to be on the..." But standing by Quinn's side already was Layla, who had sprinted from the front of the class to the back. "Hey, do you want to make a team with me Quinn?" Layla said smiling. Sure," Quinn answered. Truthfully, Quinn wanted to ask Layla to be on the same team. They didn't know how long their first assessment was going to take, and if he was to get hurt or injured, he was going to need a blood source of some type. Even if Vorden didn't like it, he knew this was going to happen. "Hey, Quinn, you mind if I join as well?" he said, smiling, trying to hide his annoyance. "Of course, and Peter as well." Peter's face was a little shocked at hearing the sound of his name, and at the same time his feelings were confused. "Yeah, that would be good," Peter said. Then when the others were just thinking about who the fifth member should be, Aaron had approached Vorden of all people in the room. "I want to make a team with you."